Okay, so today I'm going to do episode 2 of reacting to random videos on YouTube, and yesterday's was pretty funny because I reacted to, it's a good example of what this format should be like, or how I turn it into the long form postulate, like for my debates. It's not really about the videos, although I don't mind doing that either, like where I react to a lot of them or whatever. But I went on YouTube on my other phone. I saw what the suggested were at the top of it, right? Like there's a couple of shorts that are suggested and then a whole bunch of random videos. And the first one was something from Yu-Gi-Oh! Right, like Joey versus Mai and just some random clip. And so I reacted to that short clip. And then after that, I went the whole rest of the episode talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! And kind of giving a review and like my thoughts and different takes over whatever that I have on it. So like that was the entire full hour episode. So I reacted to one video that was like 30 seconds long, and then I do like a whole hour and a half thing, spiel on Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's good because it shows you it's not really about the video I'm reacting to. I'm kind of just using that as a jumping point. In fact, I want to hear some of that. I'm going to listen to my own thing. Like that was such an in-depth thoughts on Yu-Gi-Oh! So it gave me a chance basically to review it, in the sense that, right, like I gave my full thoughts and reaction. I was kind of clowning Merrick as being like the worst duelist in the show and stuff. So let me actually listen back to some of that. Like how Merrick lost to Mai, and then he loses to Joey, and he loses to everybody, basically. He loses to even the Pharaoh when the Pharaoh doesn't have a god card. Because see, the god cards in the show are treated like, you know, they give you like an unfair advantage, when in real life it wouldn't be like that or whatever, right? So like it's an unfair advantage. So if you beat somebody without a god card with a god card, it's not that impressive. Or if somebody beats you when they don't have a god card and you do, then that makes you look kind of stupid. Because again, especially Ra, he can't stop talking about how oh, Ra is so overpowered and this and that. And it has like all these unknown abilities and stupid stuff. Or like there's a funny moment I just saw actually after that on my own. I'm just scrolling through YouTube and I see another clip, like where Kaiba is looking at the winged dragon of Ra and says, oh, it has effects that aren't written on the card. Oh, you mean like every other card in the English dub? Because in the English dub they don't show that any card has text, right? They just make it look like just the card. So, right, just a picture, which is kind of cool, but like Absolutist doesn't have his card effect written on there either, or Cipher or anything. So it's comical in one sense that they don't know what the cards do themselves, or everything has to be explained. But like, oh, Ra doesn't have its effects written on there, but none of them do, right? It has some text on there, but I don't know if that's related to the chant or what. Like that's not Japanese text that they didn't bother to translate. It's like Egyptian text that you have to read to whatever. Yeah, it's kind of clowning him, and this is the problem with suggested stuff on YouTube, though. It'll turn into where it'll keep giving me the same stuff over and over. Right, but no, I've only seen the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, and on one hand, I'll give it credit. Like, let me give my final thoughts, since I already discussed it at length last time. It's a bad show from this perspective. The original Yu-Gi-Oh! Obviously 5 seasons, right? The thing is, it's a bad show, and it's a bad show for a few reasons, but yet it's still a guilty pleasure of mine, and I respect certain aspects about it. So, okay, it's bad because compared to like Pokemon or Digimon or whatever other similar shows, right? The problem is that it takes something in real life, like, oh, the Pokemon card game or the video games, or it takes, you know, whatever, right? It takes the fictional thing that you're playing a card game in real life. Oh, so in the show it's going to be for real, right? They're not playing with Pokemon cards in the show. They're playing with their, you know, fighting or whatever, living with real Pokemon. Like they're like animals. They're like, you know, real things. So that makes sense, right? You imagine making a show about Pokemon where they play the Pokemon card game in the show. So in real life, you're playing the card game. In the show, you're playing the card game. No. In the show, you're playing the real thing. You're doing the real thing. And then obviously in real life, we do it with the cards, right? Like obviously you make that concession. But in Yu-Gi-Oh!, except for season 5 and except for, you know, oh, technically the shadow games make it real. And, you know, technically, technically the shadow games make it real, and Pegasus made these based on real monsters that were in the portraits and stuff. So you could say like, oh, does that mean you could just do whatever you want with the Millennium items? But it's more like those were real monsters that actually existed, and so Pegasus, using his eye and stuff, is able to make a card out of them, and now somebody else with the Millennium item can unleash that. So it technically is different than just Pegasus making up his own card, and just, although some of them don't make sense, like the tunes and stuff, so maybe it implies that he could just do that with whatever he wanted. But no, the point is, you're making a show about a card game in which the show is actually the card game. So that's got to be one of the dumbest decisions in fiction. Because again, when you're talking about the shadow games, oh, that sounds more interesting, right? Like what we see in season 5, or even like darts, and what he's doing is a little different, even though it comes down to the card game. Like you're making a show about a card game, but it's in the show it's also a card game, right? With some minor things twist to it, but ultimately it's like, it's too on the nose. Like, oh, you're trying to sell, like Pokemon, oh, they're just trying to sell cards and games and stuff in real life. But at least when you're watching the show, you can separate it, right? You're not necessarily thinking about that. You're like, oh, hey, it's Pikachu, it's Charizard, it's, they're just fighting. That could just stand on its own. Like when I watched it as a kid, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking about the games or the cards. I'm thinking about, okay, it's Pokemon, and it's, look, they're just fighting each other, helping each other, whatever. So that can stand on its own because it makes sense in universe. Yu-Gi-Oh! Can't separate itself from that. Oh, it's a card game with a show about the card game, right? It's too on the nose, it's too direct, it's too stupid, because and it still manages to be entertaining, but that premise is just baffling to me, right? And they even flirt with the idea of the shadow games, but it doesn't matter. Like the majority of the games are just games, regardless of the holograms or anything else, right? It's just, you're playing a card game. Who wants to watch a show about people playing card games? Right, that's the out-of-universe explanation. It's just baffling to me. It's like if I was to pitch that as a show. So I have this card game and I want to make a show about it. Oh, cool. So you want to bring the monsters to life and have it be real? Okay, like Pokemon or whatever. But oh no, I want it to actually be the card game in the show too. There's a testament to its, a few things that are good about it. Like what's bad about it is it doesn't follow the rules adequately, even within itself, right? Whether in universe they just make up cards that aren't even real, or that the audience would have no way of knowing about, and just kind of pull out Deus Ex Machina BS. But all, the cards that are real, they don't follow the same rules as they would in real life and stuff like that. How do you explain it? You could make it real, like the shadow games, like what we see in season 5, something like that. But instead, no, you directly translate. It's a card game in real life, and it's a card game in the show. So that's not a very interesting use of the premise. So, and then number 2 is, it doesn't even follow the rules. So you make a show about a game, but you can't even follow the rules of that game properly, whether it be in universe, whether it be the real cards in real life, whether it be anything else. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't follow any consistent set of rules, or it does all kind of random things, and some certain cards are just made up on the fly that we never seen before, never see again, right? So it can't even follow the rules properly. And so those are 2 fairly objective criticisms. The good things about it are the characters. Certainly Kaiba's entertaining. Some of the villains are entertaining. Darts, I personally love. Bakura is very good. But some of the characters and the dynamics between them are very creative. And so the characters are good. Some of the storytelling is decent, with some of the events that happen. Like the whole thing with Yugi losing his soul. Like, this is the final point I'll praise. The best thing about the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a game theory qualifier in 2 senses, right? Number 1 is, like, people would always ask this, in a general sense in any story. Why can't the villain just shoot them or kill them or whatever, right? But Panic tries to burn the Pharaoh, and then he uses his Millennium Puzzle to protect himself. So that kind of shows you the Millennium items are kind of what prevent that from happening. You can't just kill them, or you can't just, do whatever you want. That kind of protects them from that. So you can say, oh, it's plot armor, but it's plot armor that has at least a justifiable reason. Like Joey, yes, you could just attack Joey or do whatever, right? But the Pharaoh and Bakura and Pegasus and stuff, you can't just do that. So anytime anybody could like attack Yugi by force, like why do we have to play a card game? And in some cases it doesn't really make sense, like Arcana or somebody, oh, we're gonna tie your leg to this, and if you lose you'll get struck by this thing. In that case, I guess he could just do it anyway. Like, what about Arcana beating him in a duel would then let the Pharaoh be subject to it? He still has the Millennium Item that could protect him, right? So I don't know about stuff like that, but at least when it's another, like Merrick or Pegasus or somebody like that, you lose a shadow game that drains your energy during the course of it, and then you're vulnerable to be overpowered by the Millennium Item of the other person, right? Kind of like how Pegasus is in a weakened state because he just lost. You know, that's actually one of the coolest things to think about. Because think about it, if Yugi lost to Pegasus, what would he have done? He would have sent Yugi to the Shadow Realm, right? And he won the duel. Or the Pharaoh or whatever would have happened. So you might think, how does Bakura just do that to Pegasus? Like, why don't they just do that? They fight with ancient Egyptian laser beams from their items, right? Like, why don't they just do that all the time and skip the card game? There is a relevance to that, because Pegasus just had the card game and he just lost the card game, and his energy is drained from the card game, right? So now he's vulnerable the same way that Yugi would have been if he lost, to have his soul sealed away in the Shadow Realm. But since Yugi doesn't do that, right? The Pharaoh doesn't do that to him. He lets him go, basically. Now Bakura takes advantage and he does it. So it's like he's in that prime position to be taken to the Shadow Realm. But since Yugi doesn't do it, now Bakura takes advantage and is able to do it. So that wouldn't normally happen. If Pegasus was at full strength, then Bakura would have to duel him, right, presumably, to get him in a weakened state like that. So that kind of makes actually perfect sense. I like the way that, at least the way I'm rationalizing it. But no, Pegasus is there. So again, the way the Millennium Items act as a qualifier for, like, why couldn't you just do this or that, it kind of makes sense. Why doesn't Panic just burn him alive? Or why doesn't, you know, whatever, somebody just do something by force, right? That's what the puzzle allows him to do, is protects him. So it's plot armor, but in a way that kind of makes sense and is the whole basis of the story. It's like, why is he the main character? Because he has that, and if he didn't, then then he'd be vulnerable to anything else. And then the other thing is the way that the Yugi having two souls, or, like, you know, having the Pharaoh and Yugi share the same body, is used in a very creative, effective way at various points. Like the way it's used to do the mind shuffle to beat Pegasus, right? That's a very creative thing that takes advantage of the very fact that they happen to have two souls in one body. Like, if they didn't have that, then what would you do? Like, it's so perfectly on the nose to how it's applied in the story, right? Then they use it again, like with the darts, when Raphael beats the Pharaoh. Oh, how convenient, but it's in a good way. Like, so Yugi's able to still satisfy the seal by giving up his soul, but not letting the Pharaoh give up his. So having these two souls is very, very, it's a very creatively well-utilized aspect of the story, right? And then the way that they're separate, right? The fact that the Pharaoh's on his own for season 4 after that, the fact that Yugi deals Bakura alone in season 5, the fact that I feel like there's other times too, like even when Noah tries to take over the Pharaoh's body, he's stopped basically by the puzzle effectively. So some of those game theory qualifiers are actually good. It's not like, oh, just plot armor or random stuff. That happens in the course of duels, like why you draw whatever you need to draw and stuff like that, which is kind of dumb and ruins the whole series. Like when Ishizu says that, oh, so basically he's actually been cheating, not just when he makes up cards and effects, but when he is literally controlling what he draws with his will, apparently. But, you know. Yu-Gi-Oh clips. Alexis thinks about Jaden as she's like caressing a towel or something, or his sock, and so I'm not gonna watch that because I've never seen any of the other shows. But no, it's almost the kind of show you would ridicule, or like a lot of people maybe got into it from Yu-Gi-Oh! Abridged or something. That, you know, again, as a card game, it was one of the most complex and inspired, though, in its early days, even because, I don't know, it just had like a weirdness to it that was like, first of all, some of the card names are really weird. Like alligator sword sounds like, oh, it's a sword, it's an item, it's an equip spell. No, it's an actual alligator with a sword. Or like, I don't know. There's just some card names that almost feel like they're lost in translation. But yeah, the show itself has its flaws. So we could, maybe that's the sign, we should watch that show instead, Yu-Gi-Oh! GX or whatever. I don't think I'd really want to do that. Like I said, it's almost embarrassing to admit that you've seen the original Yu-Gi-Oh! In full. And even though I do like it, it clearly has its flaws. So the second thing we have that I've seen a couple clips of, this is probably why it's suggesting it, is this is If You Can Hear What Women Think, What Would You Do? It's a clip from that show, that movie with Mel Gibson, the What Women Want or whatever, where you can read people's minds, women's minds. So that one girl he finds out is trying to kill herself later. You know what the funny thing with this too is, and then it does like an edit at the end with making edits out of everything these days. There'll be the most inane scenes from a show or a movie, and they'll do like an edit out of it where it'll be just some random scene. Somebody just made, like seriously, I don't know if it's done ironically, they'll just make their breakfast and take a bite, and oh my goodness, then they'll do a musical edit at the end. Like every scene is like a big deal and edit worthy now. But you know, the thing with this is even people don't really think like this in their own heads. In terms of like, there's not like an inner monologue where they're aware of what they're thinking. But that's the funny thing. The way this is even presented isn't really accurate to what, because that would imply an inner monologue, which most people don't actually have. It would be more like surface level. Like they might be thinking it, but they're not aware that they're thinking it. They're just doing it kind of on instinct. So they'll react, but everything is like reduced to the lowest common denominator of social contrivance or whatever. So it's sort of a hard thing to explain. So the first girl in this clip says something very interesting. He nearly killed me. Too bad he missed. Then he does a double take that she like wants to kill herself. See, like, this is the sad part. People aren't even this self-aware. They might be thinking these things instinctively, but they aren't actually aware of them. Because if they were, then wouldn't they? Right, if you were aware of your own thoughts like that, you wouldn't necessarily behave the same way. So it's more like you suppress them too. Not only do you hide them from others, but you try to hide them from yourself to cope with the one thing that's happened on a couple of these, it just happened, is it overheats and then the phone says temperature, you can't use the iPhone until the temperature cools down. So even though it's 26 degrees outside, according to my car, and it's still winter and you can see the snow, because the sun is out, it's causing it to overheat, just because it's in there for a period of time. Planning to do some long streams like this too. So I guess I'm going to try to get a cover for it, and maybe that would help, but I don't really understand that, because just the sun alone is causing that much of a problem in a short period of time. That seems kind of crazy, right? It's probably going to do it again now. Like, because I want to show the thing too. And it's even pretty far back. Like, it's not super far in the windshield. But, yeah, that seems odd that I would have to deal with that. So today I reacted to the Mel Gibson clip. So maybe we should watch that whole movie. That's kind of what I'm trying to take it as, just as a suggestion of a topic to talk about, or whatever, like a jumping off point, right? That's kind of the topical, long form postulate nature of what I do. It's not about the specific thing. Like, you'll say, oh, look at this guy, or look at this, you know, people, like, let's use Trump. Oh, people get caught up on Trump, but it's not really about Trump, right? Trump is an outsider who maybe revealed that everybody's flawed and they want to focus on him. But George Bush is an unconvicted war criminal, and Obama did a lot of questionable things. Like, they're all flawed. It's the same process. You're just aware of it now, but you're not aware of it otherwise, with your head in the sand and all this kind of thing. So now, our top two suggestions, again, as we reset, are man can hear woman's thoughts, what a woman want, and then Pharaoh attempts final appearance, which I guess that's from some movie or something. That's not actually from the show. Then there's this one channel that I have watched a couple of these, ironically enough, you know, I get on a trip with something, RTTV reacts to Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's a channel that it felt like they used to be a lot bigger, but they reacted to the whole Yu-Gi-Oh show. What is it that I watched them originally for? I can't remember, like Death Note or something. Because like look at the ratio. They have 1.4 million subscribers, but their average videos get like 5K views, which isn't bad, but I mean 4K, 6K, 7, it depends on what it is, I guess, 70K, 66K for some of them, but a lot of their videos are getting like 5K views, which, with all due respect, I mean, you know, that's just not a good ratio to your subscriber count. Now we're getting one for 2.5 Men, and the Winged Dragon of Ra chant here. And there's a difference between the two chants too. Merrick says something different, like something about shadow game and this and that, but when the Pharaoh does it, it's different. Let's listen to it. Almighty protector of the sun and sky, I beg of thee, please heed my cry. Transform thyself from orb of light and bring me victory in this fight. I beseech thee, grace our humble game, but first I shall call out thy name, Winged Dragon of Ra. So imagine if it had been like, oh, by the way, Yugi, one of the conditions of this final game is that it's a shadow game too, and if you lose, your soul gets taken. I forgot to tell you that. That's almost what it should have been. Like, in order to free the Pharaoh's soul, now he becomes the shadow game user, right? Like how he has the item and all this. So either Yugi's soul has to be sealed away and he loses, or because there weren't enough stakes, I guess he would have just stuck around. There should have been, it has to be done as a shadow game, and if Yugi loses, he has to be sent to the Shadow Realm. Otherwise, Pharaoh gets to go back home. Right, just in the tradition of the ritual. That's almost how I would have written it. So yeah, that's different than the chant that Mary gives, because he says something about his shadow game. Right now, I reset again. Yu-Gi-Oh! Sub versus the Winged Dragon of Ra chant. Mini special pie is not to be eaten. I saw some clip to do with that. Whatever, she's trying to be all nice, and then they're making fun of her or something. I didn't really get it. Like, let's just keep reloading this and seeing the two shorts at the top. Merrick's Winged Dragon of Ra becomes a phoenix, and then she's too smart for him. I don't know what that's from. Let me see. The moment he realized everything changed. Okay, let's watch this. I don't even know what it's from. She adored her dad. So close to me. IHOP corn muffin. Some of these clips are so oddly cut together, like it doesn't really give you any closure or something. Like, so I don't get it. And first of all, I don't know what that's even from. It's like bootleg Forrest Gump or something. But no, like performative aspects are taken too seriously and literally. It's actually quite a facade, because how you express yourself in performative aspects or social contrivance is different than you are in mind. But it's more like how society controls you or something. Right, like you don't need that, but it's a way to, like labels or, again, performative aspects, social interaction, that's only a way to rank and control people in kind of a cultish way. The individual has no real use for that, right? So there's something empirically suggested about that. Vandy Keith gets humiliated by a kid. Oh, that's the thing where Pegasus writes him the note what women want. So maybe I'm clowning YouTube suggestions a little bit, like, it keeps showing me the same, like, I get it, dude. I watched a couple Yu-Gi-Oh clips. I get it. You don't have to keep showing me that forever. Or what women want or whatever. Yugi's Slifer, the Sky Dragon, and Obelisk. And the Pharaoh could have totally won that duel too by, like, sacrificing the other two gods to make Obelisk force infinite and then killing whatever, right, Yugi. I don't know why he couldn't have done that. Imagine finding out your husband has been cheating on you like this. I think I've seen this clip, and again, I don't know what it's even from, but I like how intrigued this other woman is into what she's saying. Oh, and what did he say? And like, yeah, it's a fault of your own expectation, victim blaming, that you expect. Oh yes, of course, people never cheat, and it can never happen to you. But it's not about the individual; it's about the nature of the process. Like, you're creating an imbalance that has to constantly be overcompensated for. So you can choose to do that if you want, but it's kind of, you know, you should be aware of the nature of the process, and then it wouldn't surprise you at all. Kind of like similar to politics or social contrivance, like the stigma effect, like, oh, social contrivance and appearance and performative aspects are really credible, and a mass of people are really credible, even though throughout history they've fallen for, you know, all these kind of leaders and whatever, Germany and Russia and whatever, even today. Like, you know, you gotta, the best thing that a person can do, or that a collective mass of people can do, is realize you're not credible at all, and the people who rule you are not credible at all either. And it's the same process by which, you know, again, all those atrocities and stuff in history could happen or have happened. So you should be a little more weary. So Housemaid clip we're getting, which is weird because I don't think I even watched any clips of Housemaid. Should have been a red flag to Millie. Yeah, let's react to YouTube comments. When he told the wife she was imagining things when she said she knew that they went to the play and slept together. Immediately when he told his wife she was imagining things when she said she knew they went to the play and slept together. But why is that a red flag? Like, that's... So again, they tried to make the wife sympathetic, but to me it's a total clown show where everybody involved is a clown, and this way of like going about it in a roundabout way just to deal with the husband is like, at some point you just got to get out of that situation, like financial dependency or whatever notwithstanding. That's what you get for relying on somebody, but you still don't put up with abuse, and you can say it's for the daughter's sake, but it's your biological daughter technically too, so I mean, even then, like, you should make a big stink about it and not have to play along and do that elaborate thing. So part of it you can say, well, that's society's fault, but it's also, and I don't know what the hell the ending's supposed to suggest. She got $100,000, but she's still working as a maid, and she wants to be like some vigilante who takes out abusive husbands. Like, what kind? I don't get it, dude. Housemaid, more like hit maid. She's going to be a hit woman, basically, in a... I don't know, man. It was a really stupid movie. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. Even that seems generous, just because it's not the worst on a technical level, but just, man, that is like a premise picture that not only doesn't go anywhere special with its material, it tries to do the little twist, but it's just not meaningful, right? Like, oh, even the fact that the wife is planning on Yu-Gi-Oh cards that aren't banned, but you still can't use them. What the hell does that mean? Let's see. Guardian Alma. So the dagger. That's interesting. So the dagger is banned, but not her. It's lame sometimes, because what if my intention for using a card like that is it's some gimmick dagger just for fun, but because other people exploit it, I'm not allowed to do that? Like, you know, I'm not using it for that effect or that interaction, right? So it's almost like you could do a conditional ban list. Like, it's only banned if you use it with this other, well, but that's too complicated. But just to say it's categorically banned, there could be some other really fun and interesting interaction with a different card that doesn't require that broken combo. And like, that's how the meta is in any game. Like, and some of the art for the things in Yu-Gi-Oh too, those were the two things like it kind of struck me when I was younger, is like, it is pretty complex, even the early version, and you might make fun of that, like a lot of just monsters with no effects and stuff, but there is a certain complexity still, like between the fusions and different things like it was trying to do. And then the way the cards look and some of their names and stuff are a little more like, it felt like a little more mature than like these cute little Pokemon, right? It had like a little darker element to it. Something about it felt almost like a little random too, and arbitrary. Like, there's just a bunch of random cards, and there's just like it's less cohesive in a way somehow, but that also lends to its complexity, arguably. But now everything's ruined by like the archetypes or the synchro summoning and stuff. And I won't bash that without good reason. It's like, even if you like those mechanics, it kind of subverts the fact that you have to earn something. Like, you have to earn it from, you have to, you know, play a monster. If it survives, then you get to tribute it. You know, you got to work towards something in the course of the game, instead of, oh, the synchro summoning XYZ, whatever. You're getting too much value up front. And I almost made the joke like, oh, you're getting value for your cards. Like, you're getting value in terms of, oh, you bought these new cards and power creep, so therefore you get rewarded by being able to do these cool things right off the bat. Instead of having to earn it in the course of the game, right? That's the point. So you're getting too much value up front where you're able to play out of your hand, out of your deck, instead of on the field, which in particular I'm a mid-range type of player, but even then I don't know. So I basically didn't react to much of anything either, but that's, I don't know. This movie broke me, and sometimes you end up spoiling yourself. They don't say what the name of the thing is in there. Me before you. Right, but you end up spoiling yourself of something when you watch some of these clips. Is Exodia stronger than a god? So this is a video. Before I even react to it, let me give my own take. Like, yes, he's stronger than a god because you auto win the game versus the gods who you don't auto win the game and they can be destroyed. Exodia is just so strong that you can't even play him as a minion, or if you do, get the 5 pieces together, you auto win. Right, whereas the gods don't have that effect. So you would think Exodia is stronger, but there are some weird lines in the show like that, where Ishizu says, oh, the gods are above Exodia, or the Pharaoh says that the Gate Guardian, how do you expect to overpower me? You draw your life force from one human. But then what is he supposed to do if not draw a life force from that? Yeah, like they had to seal him away, whereas the gods didn't have to be sealed away. Or even the fact that it's a 1v1. Exodia faces Zorik 1v1, and of course he doesn't win, but the gods don't win either. But the gods fight Zorik like 3v1 and still lose, whereas Exodia is more on equal footing. And so I don't really get that whole thing, though. Like the fact that he's been sealed away and is being used by basically Yugi's grandpa's whatever ancestor. But the problem is that if you just let him roam free, then he's so strong that he'll destroy Egypt himself too. I mean, in that sense, you know, you can say, oh, the game is very Egyptian themed, like a lot of the cards are going to relate to that, but I mean, obviously, over time, they don't. In a way, it kind of doesn't make sense from the origin, like, where are all these machine things coming from? Like, did they explain that in the lore? You could say they're just making new cards over time, but, like, if it originated from Pegasus and the Shadow games, then, like, he's taking the carvings, and why would Egyptians have some of this weird, random technological stuff or weird, you know, modern cards? Right, it would be all more thematic to the Egyptian theme, or at least something like that. Right, you're trying to tell me there's stone carvings of Cyber Dragon or all these other random things. And there's a certain irony, like Kaiba is the magician, or he's presented that way in the old, he has the Millennium Rod and stuff, even though he likes the blue eyes, and then the Pharaoh likes the Dark Magician and stuff. It's almost like Seto is more suited for the Dark Magician based on his older counterpart ancestor. So this turned into a second episode of that Yu-Gi-Oh thing, but that's maybe one problem with the YouTube suggested. Like, to some extent, yes, I get that it's going to show you things similar, but it doesn't have to be quite like that. Like, where it's always exactly the same. Right, it'll kind of narrow. No, give me something similar, but not exactly the same thing.